National security.
Yes, so on the balance, when it comes to the national security issues, the Americans always choose the national security option instead of the question of values of human rights and democracy, no matter how much they say. But I saw the American ambassador Ambassador Nagy, I believe, in Uganda, saying something about that the United States is very upset about what's going on.
In fact, they cancelled its observation mission
because the polling stations, they were not allowed to go to over 10,000 polling stations.
They were not given their accreditation,
yes, which means they can't go to the polling station.
Right, so they canceled.
So because the books are being cooked over there.
Right.
So I think that there's this responsibility on U.S. foreign policy to make sure that they do not privilege security over democratic rights and issues of values. That's one. On the issues on the impact that the Uganda is going to have on East Africa, I don't think our President Kenyatta or President Magufuli are going to say one word about what's going on. And the reason is there is this convention among presidents in our region that they only attend the inauguration on the day that you're elected. Before that, they don't say a word.
I was actually coming to that. There's this term that maybe you can expound a little bit more on that.
So,
something called silent diplomacy.
Yes, so I don't think it's silent diplomacy. I think it's a silent affirmation. Because everybody in this region believes that without Museveni, Uganda is going to go to pieces. And there is no credible leader who can transition from the opposition to the presidency. You remember when President Moi, the late President Moi, was in power. If Raila Odinga did not say Kibaki Tosha, they would have been defeated. So Kibaki was an alternative that was backed by Raila Odinga, and therefore the international community saw a transition leader who could still bring stability, and therefore President Moi was pressured to leave power internally and from outside. President Museveni has one person over there who can transition into power, that's Besigye, not Bobi Wine. Bobi Wine is a disco man. He cannot run the government there, you know. It's not, this is not right.
We'll take a look at that in just a moment.
Yes, so my last point is, I think that it's really important that, as I said before, that the Ugandan opposition gets its act together.
Right. Dr. Kanenje, you know, you spoke about Dr. Besigye a lot, and there's something that he said. First of all, before the campaigns started, Dr. Besigye said he will not be contesting in this election. But something interesting he said is that they have Plan B if Plan A does not work. And probably some would construe this to say that Uganda might head back to the Bush War with this Plan B that Dr. Besigye was probably speaking about. Should this be of concern for us?
He must have taken inspiration from the words of Lupita Nyong'o saying all dreams are valid. I want to tell them that, you know, some dreams are not valid, and because we live in a realistic world. When you look at the regional environment, to get back to the bush, you need some kind of external support. You need ways to be able to transport your weaponry and stuff like that, and men. I'm not seeing countries right now with the capacity around Uganda and hostility enough to be able to do that. So I don't think that is going to work.
Right.
Number two, perhaps what he was also thinking about is mass protests or some kind of insurrection like what we saw in Capitol Hill. Unfortunately, Uganda is not the United States. People are going to be mauled in their thousands. And I think if they take that route, it's actually going to be very unfortunate, not just for Uganda, for the entire region. We're already seeing some Ugandans trying to get into Kenya. Okay, because of fear of what might happen. And I think President Museveni is very much aware of the potential, especially of uncontrolled youth, you know, perhaps running rampant. And if that happens, it may get a little bit bloody. And if that does, of course, it's going to affect us too. And so words do matter. And leaders, whether in the position of government, it's important to watch what you say. And so going forward, just like what we have seen in Washington this last week, this is a time that these leaders should exercise a lot of caution. Yeah, and a lot of responsibility. Because a lot of young people are very desperate also in Uganda. and may actually decide to go in the streets, and it's going to be very unfortunate. Maybe also that explains why Museveni has deployed massive security around the country. And now part of it is of course to ensure that there's no violence, but also part of it, the advantage of the incumbency.
Intimidate people.
Understand? Yes. And so Uganda's future, I think, or rather political growth, I see it in the future, that there has to be a recalibration of political opposition to try and to build a wider consensus and something that is actually credible to be able to provide an alternative government.
Right.
This is a country whose the last 40 years or 50, 60 years have been